we've talked the last couple of nights about the business side of it, but one of the things that happens when we get into our own businesses, we're responsible for literally everything. Even if we have a team, as the CEO, we're responsible for everything. And that can become overwhelming in general, but it can also become overwhelming if we're not attuned to the person that we want to be, rather than the person we've been told we have to be. So just a real quick recap. The last couple of nights, the first thing we did is we talked about how we were losing a minimum of 90% of our revenue before we even started and what to do about that. We looked at the buying pyramid and the 3% that are buying now. That's where we're making most of our money, maybe out of the top 10%. And the remaining 90% is just out the door. And we want to get down into that. And we talked about specifically how to do that. And by making that one change, our easy math example went from $360,000 a year to 1.4 million. And if you think that that's unrealistic, there are a lot of people who have stepped up and said, hey, wait a minute, that is me. This is John. His company 10x his leads and his sales and his revenue in 6 months. So following that exact formula, and the third part of it tonight is what got him to do that. So then last night we talked about how we're in the marketing death trap. We're doing what everybody else is doing, and we're talking about our product, its features and benefits, and we get pushed into talking about price, which we don't want to negotiate on. And when we get into the iron triangle and we remember that our buyers care about 3 things: money, risk, and time. Make me more money, save me more money, reduce my risk, or save me time. That's when we start really understanding what our buyers actually care about. And we talked about who's the real buyer. Yes, it's somebody buying for a company, whether it's their own company or whether it's for a bigger company, but they're also buying as a human. They're factoring in all of those things. And a lot of those humans are factoring in, how do I save my job? How do I not become irrelevant? How do I have enough money to retire or put my kids through college or whatever? And we have to really think about what they care about. The examples that we used were Richard Branson. He cared about a building, but he really cared about getting his brand new airline off the ground. And Nadia, her buyers, they didn't want a house, which is what she was selling. What they really cared about was not dying prematurely or having their kids start taking drugs. So when we understand what our buyers really care about, always in the categories of money, risk, and time, that's when we really start to connect with them. So tonight, we're going to talk about our personal side to it. And I wonder if you've ever said to yourself, is this really all there is to life? Get up in the morning, go to work, whatever that work is, go home at the end of the day, maybe very, very late at the end of the day, eat some food, maybe have a couple of drinks, or a lot of people, for them, it's something harder than a lot of drinks, or binging Netflix for hours and hours. We're self-medicating instead of living. Have you ever asked yourself, is this really all there is to life? I know I have. When I was in corporate America, I did. It's like, what the heck am I doing? And why am I doing this? So one of the things that we need to understand as we run our own companies is oftentimes we're the biggest problem in our business. We're the ones who are in our own way because we don't have the leadership skills, not just to lead a team, but leadership skills to lead ourselves. It's very lonely being a CEO. A lot of times there's no one to talk to bounce ideas off of, no one you can trust. You can't talk to the competition, right? You can't tell them what's really going on in your business. Your spouse, a lot of times, doesn't either want to hear or doesn't understand. So it can be very, very lonely, and that can become oppressive and overwhelming. CEOs are some of the most stressed people on the planet. Running a business is hard. It was made significantly harder during the shutdown. We haven't recovered from that. And with the advent of AI that is changing literally every day, CEOs are saying, I don't have what it takes to keep up. Only 6% of CEOs think they have what it takes to run their company. 6%. 94% believe they're going to fail. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to remember what we've learned the last 2 nights, and we're going to talk about what can we do to make it easier? How can we make our business both successful and a place where we can have a great life? Here's one example of someone who's done this formula that we're talking about tonight. Cami Haas, he's a dentist. He has opened up several dental offices, and he's doing all kinds of wonderful things like inventing toothbrushes for kids and toothpaste and all kinds of really cool things for children. And one of the things when he and I met was he was working around the clock. You know, he had a young child, he had a wife, and everything was on his shoulders. And one of the things that I always prescribe, you've heard me say this, is take a long vacation, go away for a month, turn the cell phone off, recharge. And by the way, if you do that, you come back more productive than before you went. So are you like most people? Are you one of those people who has been taught? You didn't come into the world believing this, but you've been lied to. You've been taught that maybe you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or one of the things that I've heard recently is someone like me doesn't get to do this or be this. Those are all lies that someone has told you, either in an effort to control you or to minimize you, or because it's something that they were taught themselves. And they're just doing the best to help you have a great life, and they don't realize that they were lied to, and they bought those lies. So if you or a member of your team believes that you have to struggle, or that it's hard, the economy is turning bad, there are a lot of people who are talking about a recession coming or worse. Do you know that you can make a lot of money? No, I'm not talking about gouging people or hurting people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about serving people. You can make, it is very possible, it has been done, to make a lot of money in a down economy. But the people who do that are the people who can manage their inner state, who can keep themselves focused on delivering quality and caring about their ideal buyers. Remember, we talked last night about when you reach through the person who's buying to the company and you solve that problem of that person who's your point of contact, even if it's not the head of the company, you're making their life better, solving a problem for them. That's when you can really make a difference in your own bottom line. Okay. I was working for a company once, and her state was so out of balance that it was dramatically affecting that company's ability to make money. She was the head of marketing. She was in her mid-30s, and she believed that she was not good with money. She just told herself, I don't know how to handle money. I'm not good with it. And in her mid-30s, every time she got a check, she turned it over to her father. That trickled down into the company, because as a head of a major department in that business, She believed she wasn't good at money and money was difficult and all of those kinds of things. So she wasn't effectively doing her job because of her beliefs. So can you see how they're intertwined? Your business and your beliefs are intertwined. And when we look at it from a psychological angle, self-doubt is one of the most destructive things that we can have in our lives and also in our businesses. If you're constantly going, can I do this? Is this the right thing to do? I don't know what I should do. What tends to happen is we freeze and we get stuck and we procrastinate and we develop habits that keep us small just because of self-doubt. And most entrepreneurs live in fear. They're afraid I'm not going to have enough money, or what if I get out there? This is a really common one. What if I get out there in the world? What if I start telling people about my product or service and attract attention and criticism? Then what am I going to do? Or what if I fail? Or what if I succeed? That could be just as bad. And we start to play small. And the more we do that, the more we play small, we keep playing smaller and smaller. And when we hit roadblocks, just look, we're gonna hit them. We're going down the river of life and there's a boulder. We need to go around it, or we might bump into it. But when we allow those bumps to crush us, that's when our business kind of falls apart. And we start to emit a frequency that's like an electrical storm. I don't know if you're as old as I am and you remember the days of the transistor radio, but when a transistor radio would play in a storm, it would crackle. The signal wouldn't get through. And that's what's happening when you're doubting yourself and you're feeling like, I don't know what to do. You're sending out those filaments of energy out into your world, and you're attaching to things that mimic or magnetize to your feelings. So if you're feeling fear, if you're feeling like you're not worthy or not good enough, that's going out to your entire world. So we have to align ourselves. We talked, I believe, on the first night about how if you're sitting in front of someone and you're saying, oh, my product, it's so great, it's the best, and you should buy it. And on the inside, you're like, oh my God, I haven't made a sale in a month, and I really need this because I have to pay my mortgage or my rent next week. Your buyer is going to feel that frequency. They may not know why they don't trust you, but they won't trust you. They may think you're lying to them. So we have to get ourselves in alignment. We've got, everybody always says that you have to manage your thoughts, or it's all about mindset. And that's not the whole picture. As a matter of fact, that's a tiny part of the picture. You've got to get your point of power in alignment. It's your thoughts, obviously, which are in your head, and your emotions, which are also in your head. So let's say you're driving down the road and all of a sudden somebody cuts you off and you slam on the brakes, and your kid's in the car and you throw your hand across them, make sure that they're okay, even though they have their seatbelt on. And your mind just starts looping with all these crazy emotions about how angry you are and what a jerk that person is and all of that. Those are your emotions. They're tied to your thoughts. There's another pair. That is your core beliefs. What are the core beliefs that are in your body? Core beliefs like I'm unworthy. If you have had experiences in your life where maybe a parent or a lover either told you directly that you weren't good enough or treated you in a way that made you feel like you weren't good enough or weren't worthy, you adopt that, and it's buried in your core. It's not something that you're thinking about every day, but it is something that you're acting on. And when let's say you get a big opportunity and you get that pang of fear, That fear is attached to your core beliefs. Those feelings in your body and your core beliefs are tied together. They're the stronger pair. Actually, your thoughts are the weakest of your 4 components of your point of power. And we need to get all of those in alignment. Well, how do we do that? If your core beliefs that you aren't really even aware of are ruling the show, what do? You start to allow them to rise to the surface so that you can deal with them. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. So there's one proven way that you can supercharge your results and get to the root of the problems in your business and in your life. And it's quantum physics, but it's not the mathy kind. We talked last night, Deborah, or the first night, Deborah doesn't do math. It's what I call practical quantum physics, being able to use the concepts, and you don't need to worry about the math. Einstein took care of that for us. So an example of that, you've heard me talk about Nadia over the last 3 days. And, she started at $0. She was selling houses, and she and I started working together. And usually I can see a company starting to turn around if that's what they need, or grow if that's what they want, within about 6 months. And we had been working together. We'd done all of the things that we've talked about in the last 2 days, the strategic, educational messaging and sales, and hiring the right people, training them to speak to their ideal buyer in conversations that worked, and nothing was happening. There was no money coming in. And I will be honest with you, I was starting to sweat. And I was like, okay, Deborah, is this going to be your first failure? Because it would have been. If she hadn't been able to achieve success, it would have been my first failure. And I was scared. And we were meeting once a week. And I said to her, I said, Nadia, I think you're blocking money. And at this point, I hadn't told anyone that I had been studying metaphysics since the 1980s and quantum physics, I don't know, since like 2000 or whatever. And I said, I think you're blocking money. And I said, I'd like to work with you on an energetic level to remove those blocks. I hadn't told anyone because I was a serious business consultant. Working in Silicon Valley and all of that. And I was like, I don't want people to think I've lost my mind. But I took a risk, and I asked her if she would be interested in letting me help her clear her blocks to money. And she said, sure. By the way, one of the reasons why Nadia was so successful, and if you ever hire someone, first of all, hire someone that you trust, who's qualified. If you ever hire someone, don't fight them. I can tell a dramatic difference between my clients who want to negotiate over every single thing. It's painful and it's difficult to get them. I want a minimum of 100% growth. That's my minimum for anyone I work with, 100% minimum. That can be really super painful. Nadia, every time I said, I think we should do this. I think you should do this. She said, okay, yep, okay, yep. That was the only thing she ever said to, I think, any suggestion that I made in the entire time that I was working with her. So we met on a Friday, and I did a little process, which I'm going to teach you in a minute. And I said to her, I think what's going on with you is that you've got some core beliefs about having money. And we went through a guided process. And what she discovered is she had grown up in a wealthy family, and she believed that she had never done anything to deserve money. So we cleared that away with a process. And within 8 days, she made $298 million of clearing those away. Now, remember, we had all these other practical business things in place. So there was a foundation for that. But once we swept that away, the money just started rolling in. And at the end of 12 months, she'd gone from zero to $602 million. So how do we do this? Well, first off, we have to know what our blocks are. And there's a process for going through that. And then the next thing we need to do is to clear our blocks, especially, you know, in the business world, we want to clear our blocks to money and success. So one of the things that you can do in the moment, I'm going to teach you something else here, but sometimes we're in the moment. We're in the middle of a sale and things aren't going well, and our energy is going off the charts into fear or worry and confusion. So one of the things you can do, and you can even do it while you're having a conversation, takes a minute, is you just, maybe while you ask your potential buyer a question and while they're talking, you just take a breath, do it with me, exhale, and call in the energy and frequency of joy. And how do you do that? Well, if you practice it right now, I can call in joy like that because I've been doing it for so long. But in the beginning, remember a time when you felt intense joy. You know, whether you were holding your child for the first time or running naked in the ocean, or you snuggling your puppy or kitten or whatever it is, looking into the eyes of your beloved. Just call in that memory and you will immediately shift out of fear. It is not possible for your body to hold both joy and fear, or two competing feelings at the same time. Your body can't do it. It'll hold one. And the higher frequency feeling is always stronger. So if you're afraid, just take a breath. Remember the eyes of your beloved, or as I said, running naked in the ocean, or whatever it is for you, sipping cocktails on the beach, whatever. And just feel that energy of joy. That will shift you immediately. Okay, so the full thing is, it's about feeling, not thinking. If you know me at all, you know that I will say, answer with your body, not with your head. Get out of your head. Feel into it and feel into the oneness. We are one with everything. We're one with every other person on the planet. They are part of us. We are part of them. Every animal, every bug, every tree, everything, the rocks. We are one with everything. We are one with Source. Whether you call it God or Allah or Source, the cosmic consciousness, it doesn't matter what you call it. We are one. It's not, Source is not out there. Source is not something that we ask for help, because we are it. And we are the wholeness of it. It is within us and it is surrounding us. We've got Source within and Source without. Now, feel into that for a minute. Source within and Source without. That is you. Is there anything in the multiverse more powerful than Source, more powerful than God, more powerful than Allah, whatever you want to call it? Is there anything more powerful than that? And that is who you are. It's important to remember, though, don't kill the frog. And what I mean by that is, as you start living your life this way, things will happen that are kind of strange and wonderful. And some people who are stuck in their head, remember, you're going to be in your body, not in your head, they start wanting to dissect it. Well, why did that happen? Well, what was that all about? How does that work? Well, you know, there were people who wanted to know how the frog's tongue went out so long and fast, or why its feet were sticky and could crawl up walls. So they started dissecting frogs, and all the magic disappeared. All the magic of that tongue darting out and grabbing the fly, or sticking to the walls, or things like that. So your mind, my mind, no one's mind is big enough, strong enough to understand how everything in the entire multiverse works. We just don't. We won't ever. So don't try to dissect it, because you will kill it. Okay. So how do we start this? There are 3 steps. The first step is to be passionate for yourself, because you are, and you exist. You deserve everything. I'm talking to you. You deserve everything. So be passionate about yourself. People say, well, I don't know what my passion is. Because you're looking for a passion out there. You're looking for a passion in a job. And you might find passion there, but be passionate about yourself. This is your life. And I personally believe there are other lives. But while you're here in this one, be passionate about yourself. You deserve that. The second step is to step into the being of the universal signature of source. Be that source, be that source within and source without. The signature of appreciation is claiming it. I appreciate the wealth that I have in my life. I appreciate the love that I have in my life, the health. That's the universal signature of it is mine and claiming it. And the third one is to allow yourself to have it and to receive it. When somebody says, you look so beautiful today, or I love your new hair, or I love your new dress, or whatever. Oh, I got this on sale for $10. Oh, it's minimizing it. Oh, I didn't have time to wash my hair today. I don't know why you're saying that. No, own it. Well, thank you. Receive it, because the more you receive, the more you receive, the more opportunity you have to receive. So for the next, let's say 10 days, just for fun, next 10 days, every time somebody says something nice to you, every time somebody offers you anything, today somebody, I'm having an issue with some technology, and I posted in a group, and somebody emailed me who's an expert and said, I'd be willing to get on the phone with you and see if we can sort this out for you. No charge. If I do a good job, I'd appreciate a good review. And the old me, who is always giving away free stuff, would never have received that. Never. I either would have said no if it was going to be free, or I would have insisted on paying, or whatever. And I just, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next 10 days. Every time somebody says something nice or offers you something, thank you, and receive it. All right? Deal? Okay. The other thing is the 2 questions. Every time something comes up, ask yourself, what's under that? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I reacting this way? Why am I triggered? So many of us have had traumatic experiences. They can be very significant, or they can be things that are significant only to us. But they're significant if they're significant to us. And it's created a trauma response. And we want to know what's under that. What's under that? What's causing this feeling in my body that's making me nauseous? And when we can get to that, like Nadia got to, I was born in a wealthy family. I don't feel like I've ever done anything to earn money. When she got to that, You were able to clear it literally in like a 90-minute session. It was gone. So we want to know what that is. The next question is, what's the opposite of that? So I feel shame because I have money and not everybody does, and I've never earned it. Okay, well, what's the opposite of shame? Maybe it's self-love. That's kind of an individual thing. But when you figure out what is under your trauma response or your bad feeling in your body, what's the opposite? And like we did with joy, we want to call that in. Again, remember, you can't hold a positive and a negative at the same time. So what does this mean in business? Well, this is a woman that I work with. She took one of my business classes. She took my quantum physics class, and she cleared away. She did a timeline jump, cleared away all of the things that were holding her back. And within 36 hours after that, she made more money in one sale than she'd made in the entire previous year. That's what this can do for business. And that's why when you look at some of the videos that we've talked about, or the people who've had the experiences with this formula, the reason why their results are so exponential is, yes, because of the business strategies. They're great strategies in and of themselves. But when you clear away all the clutter that's standing between you and your end goal, it goes so much faster and so much easier. And then you stop saying, my business is so difficult. And you start taking those vacations and enjoying your life. So I have every day I've tried to offer you something as a little gift. And tonight, if you really want to supercharge your business, if you want to tie what you've learned these last 3 days to your business personally, I will meet with you and we will go over the top 3 ways that you can get your business either started or moving in the direction that you want. Just go to quantumresultsformula.com/now. There will be a little form for you to fill out that tells me a little bit about your business. So I'm prepared to talk to you at the level where your business is, because a billion-dollar business is different than a $1 million business in terms of what we can do. If you're a solopreneur, it's different than if you have a big team. And so I want to know a little bit about your business so that I can come prepared to talk to you about the right things. But if you'd like me to sit down with you and help you go through it and figure out, okay, this is how I apply what I learned to my business, I am very happy to do that. Okay, so that's quantumresultsformula.com/now. You don't have to put the now in all caps. I just did that so people would remember. All right. But I want you to be serious about it. I don't want it to be one of those, well, I don't really care about this, but sure, why not? It's free. If you really want me to help you do it, I'm happy to do it. I'm thrilled to do it. But I want you to be committed as I am.